Good afternoon, it's Pastor Marty. Welcome to the Afternoon Drive. You know, the never-Trumpers just never learn. Apparently, a never-Trump Republican has decided to challenge President Trump in a primary for the 2020 nomination. Yes, former governor of Massachusetts, Governor Weld, has decided he's going to run against the Trump. Let's leave President Trump to the side of this argument for just a moment. And all I would have to say to you, Governor Weld, is how much did the conservative base actually embrace another quasi-conservative Massachusetts governor who wanted to be the Republican president, Mitt Romney? Yeah, exactly. He ran against Barack Obama at a time that anybody should have been easily and handily able to beat Barack Obama, and yet he lost. Not because there was mass turnout against him. There just wasn't much turnout for him. And it was one of those lessons that the Republican Party, and apparently you, Governor Weld, have not fully embraced. That the re-election of Barack Obama set up the election of Donald J. Trump. And this is what I mean by that. That was one of those watershed election moments where the base said no more. No more. We're tired of the GOP elite, by whether it's the good old boy system or the next in line, it's his turn system or whatever, picking their next talking mouthpiece, their next, if you will, elite GOP that will talk conservative, but is going to govern just like a moderate Democrat. And the base said enough. Enough. We wanted to say that with John McCain during the election the first time around of Barack Obama, because many of us did see just how dangerous an Obama presidency was going to be. And we had to swallow it, hold our nose, whatever you want to say, to vote for John McCain. And by the way, let me just pause right here. These people that keep insisting that John McCain, hero. No, he's not. Look at some of my previous videos. I'm not even going to get into what it was that he actually did while he was a prisoner of war that sold out America, sold out his American comrades in arms, and his traitorous behavior. Let's go back to when he was running against George W. Bush for the Republican nomination. Why was it that the media loved John McCain? Because he was that so-called conservative who talked like a Democrat. And he was never at a loss to challenge or contradict any type of real conservative voice within the movement, within Congress, within the Senate. And that's why the media gravitated to him. And that's why the media to this day gravitates to anyone that calls himself a Republican or a conservative but is anti-Trump. It isn't because they like this person or they think this person is right for the country. They just like him because he hates Trump. And it's even better if they call themselves a Republican. So, Governor Weld, if you've got a suicidal tendency that you think your ideals running against Donald Trump are somehow going to garner you a Republican nomination, I don't know if you are delusional, dangerous, or just outright stupid. And right now, I'm really leaning toward outright stupid. Because again, the implosion of Mitt Romney not being able to pull out the Republican base, the conservative base, to actually come and vote for him against Barack Obama in 2012 is why we got Donald Trump in 2016. The base said, we've had it. We're sick and tired of these so-called conservatives running every 2 to 4 years, promising us this and promising us that, and saying they're for family values and saying they're for this, and then when they get to Washington, they govern and they legislate like drunken sailors at a whorehouse without protection. I can't be any clearer than that. Sick of it. Sick of career politicians. Sick of their poll-tested answers and their poll-tested questions and how to have this pose for this situation and how to have this type of look of concern in this scenario and talking about this and talking about that and committing to memory the leaders of countries that nobody's ever heard of because you want to appear broad and well-rounded and well-spoken and you've thought out every issue. Shut up. Donald Trump came along and said, America first, America now. We're going to put America back together. We're going to put America back on the right track. We're going to make America number one. And he wasn't always polite, and sometimes he was rude, and sometimes he tweeted things that even the most ardent of Trump supporters went, that was a little tough one. And then there are things that he does that we go, yes! No other Republican would have the guts to say that. And we love it. And for those of you that claim to be Democrat and Christian, how you can call yourself a Christian and align yourself with a party that is for post-birth abortion. Post-birth abortion. That's not abortion, that's murder. That's infanticide. Partial birth abortion. Murder. Murder. But those of you that call yourselves Christians and moderate, and I can't stand Donald Trump. I don't know why Christians and evangelicals gravitate to Donald Trump. He's so mean. He says mean things. He does mean things. Do you remember that Jesus was not a hippie from a commune going around just singing Kumbaya and giving everybody a group hug? I know. How dare you talk about him? This is Holy Week. Jesus, did you ever actually read the things that he said to the Pharisees? He called them venomous vipers, dogs. You know, those were kind of like the cuss words of the day. And he saved his most scathing, scorching comments for the religiosity of the day. Kind of like Trump saves his most scathing, scorching comments for the media and the swamp, that deep state, that oligarch governing elite, whether they be Democrat or Republican, that are all intertwined and illegitimate children of each other. And it was Jesus who flipped over the tables of the money changers in the temple and ran them out. Doesn't sound like a kumbaya moment, does it? Doesn't sound like, everybody gather, group hug time. I love you. You love me. You know, again, I hate to cloud your fairy tales with facts. But you never Trumpers. You're just refusing to give this man any credence or credibility. You do realize you are being crushed, not just simply by the weight of the Trump train. You are being crushed by being on the complete and total wrong side of history. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how else to help you. You keep thinking that you've got the magic bullet. This is the thing that's going to take him out. Newsflash, nobody gives a flip about his taxes. I said this yesterday. The New York Times and the media is having to bend all over backwards and twist and contort and finally acknowledge that the Trump tax cuts are, in fact, tax cuts for everybody across the board, and they're working. So what is it, Governor Weld, you're going to run against? A good economy? The fact that now the majority of Americans want real border security? What are you going to run against? You're just going to be like the clowns in the clown car over at the Democratic Party. We don't like Trump. We don't like Trump. We don't like Trump. That's your whole platform? We don't like Trump. I don't like Trump. He's not like from Massachusetts. Good. I'm originally from the Northeast. Nobody in the Northeast wants to acknowledge Massachusetts. I can remember as a young man One of my first jobs out of college was I worked as a car salesman. And I had to go with a group of salesmen from our dealership over into Massachusetts to a car auction. And we were driving back a fleet of cars from this car auction back to New York. We're just literally miles from the New York border when all of a sudden, on the curve of the interstate, there stood, not in his car, stood a Massachusetts trooper pointing to our entire caravan of cars and flagging us over. He was going to ticket every one of us. I happened to have the sales manager of the dealership riding shotgun next to me. When I rolled the window down to hand the police officer the proof of purchase from the auction as well as my driver's license, my sales manager leaned over and said, it's really too bad New York has to border Massachusetts and that you need New York motorists to pay for Kitty Dukakis's drug rehab. So, listen there, Gov from Massachusetts. Outside of Massachusetts, you do know nobody likes you, right? And you do know why, once in a while, there is someone from Massachusetts that actually, with a conservative ideal, gets elected to something? Because Massachusetts are the true liberals. In other words, they want to have, whether it's abortion on demand or sex without morality or perversion, whatever, anything that you can think of that you absolutely hate, Massachusetts loves. Except, don't dip into their pocket to pay for it. On that, they will let a governor sit in the governor's mansion and not allow the legislature to totally tax them and pick their pocket. That they're kind of conservative on, quasi, but when you really want to know what Massachusetts is all about, just remember, they kept sending the murderer, Ted Kennedy, back to the Senate. My apology there. That's it. This rant's over. Hey, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, get my next rant.